some cool crabs for my fish tanks, by the way. That's another topic we should talk about.
Oh boy, that's interesting. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Morning Coffee Review. It is a beautiful September 12th, and I'm sitting here in Little Rock enjoying a lovely morning. I had a nice walk to the coffee shop, and I'm ready to go today. How are you doing today, Michael?
Doing good out here in the Grand Canyon State. It is going to be a little bit cooler today. I pulled up the weather and thought Washington, D.C. was our weather, but it is actually going to rain here today, so that's good. But then we're back into the hundreds over the weekend. So, typical AZ weather. I don't think it's ever going to cool down, but hopefully we have a long winter like we did this year. So I guess we kind of like a catch-22, but doing good. Finished up our AU presentation. Matt and I did last night because they do pre-recordings. So we did our run through. And now it's just AU time for November. So hopefully any of you folks that are going out there, feel free to stop by. A, attend our class. B, stop by the booths. We'll be there with our buddy Ryan. So feel free to come by and say hi.
Cool. That'll be a good time in November in Las Vegas. All right. So today we are kind of going a little bit back to the basics a little bit, but it's a topic that needs to be talked about because even the most seasoned review people forget some of this stuff. Right? If you don't use it, you lose it. So today we're going back to basics with custom markups, some of the markup tools, and then we might discuss what markups are available in the different levels of subscription, because this is still coming up a lot. Hey, I bought the basic, but I can't do this. Oh, well, now what? So we're going to go through some of those things. And as always, if you have any questions about anything related to markups or not, go ahead and put it in the chat, whether you're over there on YouTube or here in Zoom. And
you want to talk about dates too today?
Oh, yeah. So as in typical MCR fashion, what we like to do is provide you with the information that you need to make the best decisions for your company, right? And with that said, I just mentioned subscription. So Review has been on a subscription platform for, about a year now for Review 21.
Yeah, like the end of this month, right?
Yeah, but Review 20 is still a thing. So if you were on Review 20, which was the last perpetual release, right? Meaning you bought the license and then you paid maintenance on it. And some people really still like that perpetual model, but it's not going to be around forever. If you decide that you want more perpetual licenses, you have until the end of the month to buy them. After the end of the month, nothing, no more. Subscription only.
And Jason's talking about the end of the work week month. So the 29th.
Yes. Yeah. 28th?
29th.
Yeah. But and no more perpetual Review 20 licenses ever. So get it if you need it. But I'm very much on the just go to subscription. Even if you buy that perpetual license of Review 20, it's not going to live forever, as we've gone through before. These products do have an end of life, right? Where Bluebeam will no longer support them. And that's fine. That makes sense. But your time limit on Review 20 is probably they haven't officially announced the end of life, but if we use our little crystal ball, I'm pretty sure it's going to be announced at the end of the month, right? Because that's what they did with 19 and below. They announced the end of sale and then once it hit the end of sale, they announced the end of life. That end of life is usually 1 year.
Yep.
So this is not official. This is not an ATG statement. This is not an MCR statement. This is me just guessing that the end of life of Review 20 will be in October-ish of 2024. So if you still want a license, you can buy it till the end of the month, but it's probably only going to be good for a year. So go to subscription, right?
Yep. And then for those open license folks, if you do not renew, if you expire November 1st and you don't renew, so they will not be allowing any maintenance and open licensing renewals will now be processed as cost neutral upgrades as of October 2nd. So if you are doing open licensing, you will have to cost neutral, no renewal into complete. And I think what was it, 1 to 5?
5 to 1, yeah.
Yeah, 5 to 1.
1 to 5.
Dyslexia. And then also, if you don't have existing maintenance on your perpetual licenses, you're out of luck now. Kind of what that's kind of what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
There's no softer way to say it. You're out of luck from the time being of when a whole year, and then May I think was the last month that you could add perpetual licensing, and then they did a trade-in value, and now it's kind of you're out of luck.
Correct. So if you buy a new perpetual license, I'm not positive on the maintenance thing, right? But there's a question. So if you have a perpetual license of Review 20, let's say, or let's just say how it is for 19, right? If you have a perpetual license of 19, it already hit its end of life, meaning that if you hit uninstall, or not uninstall, well, same thing. If you hit unregister, you can't re-register. So if you have Review 20 and then year 2025 comes around and you want to install it on a new computer, it's not going to register.
Yeah, you can't even, if you have the executable to install, it doesn't matter. It has to register. Yeah.
Right. So you will probably still have access to Studio. You know, that stuff will still work. What doesn't work when a product hits the end of life, with the exception of 19 and below, and I'll talk about that in a second, is no more tech support, no more updates, and no more registry. So yeah, it's really not perpetual. But again, well, I'm not in my home office, but I've got that Windows 95 disk in my closet. That doesn't work either, but that was a perpetual product too, right? So it sort of happens in the software world, but there's still a lot of folks who are like, I hate subscription and I want to buy perpetual, and that's fine, but waste of money, guys. It's a waste of money because it's not going to live forever, and you're just kicking the can down the road. And moving to subscription is not that big of a deal when it comes to the administration part.
Yeah, administrating or installing. And we've been trying to warn everybody as much as possible, right? We're not Bluebeam, but we're here to help inform you all and help you make that strategic decision on where Bluebeam as a company is going with their solutions. So hopefully everyone listened in to us as we were kind of giving the hint of where things were going, that new transition. But unfortunately, if you have a perpetual license with not active maintenance as of now, the only option is to purchase new subscription. You can still use Review 20 if you're on Review 20. If you're on Review 19, you're way out of luck. You have some luck if you're on Review 20 because you still don't have an end of life date announcement, which typically happens a year after announcement of end of sale. So whenever that end of sale date happens, you have a year for the end of life of that solution.
Now that's not official, but that's our guess. We'll find out at the end of the month.
Yep.
Right. So good question here. So once you switch to Review 21, a lot of people want to know what happens to Review 20. And that's perpetual, right? You still have it. That will still work until that end of life date. So if you do install them side by side, and you can still register it somewhere else too, right? You'll still see those in the gateway if you have enterprise. If you don't have enterprise, then
yeah. Bluebeam themselves has recommended that you switch in a timely fashion to everyone into Review 20. So Review 21. So if you accept the new license structure, you don't immediately have to download. You still have access to your Review 20 licenses. They just say a timely manner. I don't know what their actual verbiage is, but I haven't encountered anyone that's been cut off yet from their Review 20 licenses. We have Review 20 licenses. Mine still functions side by side with Review 21.
And I just uninstalled 20. It's just taking up room at this point. I mean, there's no difference in functionality or stability or anything else. So I need the room. So, but yeah, Brian, a lot of folks do avoid the subscription software, but it's coming. Everybody loves that recurring revenue. And I don't blame the software companies for doing it, but it's a big change, right? I miss the days of being able to buy a box of software and have a disk. So if I did get a new computer, I can just do all that stuff. But now it's
This was one of the last dinosaurs in the room, I think, from a business perspective. I can't think of any other solution. And that's how I used to propose it when we were talking about Bluebeam. And it was, I think, from all of our licenses and things that we use as software, that was the last one to turn the corner.
Yeah, I think you're right, especially with us over here at ATG, where we're dealing with Autodesk software and Bluebeam and some of those other things. The last one. Is there a easy way to uninstall the old version silently while installing Revu Complete? I don't remember. It's been a year since I've installed Revu 21.
There's a silent way to install the software, but I don't know about the uninstall. You can look at the deployment package they have in there, but you can silent install Revu 21. Yes.
Okay. So if let's get the skeletons out of the closet. It's almost Halloween time to talk about that, but the cost increase between subscription is real, right? However, for those of you who are on active maintenance, it's not that bad.
Yeah. It's a 10% net gross year over year. It's their cost neutral process. So if you did have active maintenance, they guarantee it for 5 years, is what they said, for the 10% increase. Who knows what happens after 5 years? Inflation or whatever happens to the market, they may increase it past 10%. They guarantee it for the 5 years
right.
At a 10% net gross year over year for the first 5 years.
Net gain, guaranteed. I think, is word you're looking at. But
I always say net gross. Is that the wrong term? Is it net
those
gain?
Are opposite.
Net gain is what you gain. Net gross is over the amount. Someone correct me.
Someone smarter than me. So yeah, if you're paying $100, next year is going to be 110. Year after that, it's going to be 10% more on that, and then that's going to continue until you hit the retail price. Now, that's where the things are. Nothing, except for Arizona Iced Tea, has maintained the same retail price over 5 years. Things are getting weird right now.
Yeah, so you're gonna
about that this morning.
Sorry. Yeah, like you're gonna pay $119, and you're gonna pay 10% on that. The new cost with that additional 10%, you're going to pay 10% on that new cost. So that's the net gross amount, which is what I thought net gross meant, which I could be wrong. But that's what it is. You're paying 119, let's just use an example, or 100. Yeah, it compounds. So you're going to pay 100. Next year, you're going to pay 110. Then you're paid 10% on the 110 if you had active maintenance.
Oh, I have that spreadsheet. Let me pull that up.
I have one too.
Yours is probably nicer than mine.
Yeah.
I made an old one.
Do you want me to bring mine up?
Well, yeah, we'll see if yours is better than mine.
Okay.
But I always shy away of sharing spreadsheets with this group because we got some ninjas up in here. Oh, but your desktop makes up for it.
Yeah, we can all complain about my desktop. It's fine.
Why is Revit 2024 icon not in the row with our other Revits?
Because I just installed it and started doing a bunch of stuff.
Wow.
You can all look at it while I try to open which one's the right one. I think this is the right one. Nope. That's a different one.
Yeah. Yeah, mine's that one, but mine's gussied up a little bit.
No, I have a better one. Hold on.
Always hide desktop icons. Maybe that would save him from the ridicule.
I'm pretty sure some of the folks have desktops that look like this, so I'm not upset about it. Okay. So here's my new spreadsheet that I took time to go through and create, because these are fluctuating costs because they were increasing the price of perpetual licensing. So you can kind of ignore these, but this is the overall cost that you'll pay per license year over year. I had a bunch of folks ask me, well, if I buy a new license, what is my loss going to be the first year? So these are your loss. You actually don't lose money on standard. You lose $58 the first year on CAD and $158 the first year on extreme. And then you start making your money back year number 2. Because you're paying for the license plus maintenance. This gives you this number, right? So I factored that in to this number, which gives you this number here. So you have C9, right? Minus D3 here gives you these numbers. So that you're losing money that first initial year that you would have paid for subscription because it's cheaper than paying for a full perpetual license. But you're getting money back on year 2. Make sense?
There you go. Yeah.
Okay. So that's what this bottom part is as you're looking. Now looking at this is what you're paying in maintenance over the year. They guarantee to year 5. Maybe they don't increase it at year 5. Who knows? And you're good for the next 10 years, essentially, because you're in the green unless you had extreme all the way to year 10.
Does that make sense, everybody? So there's that 10%, compounding that we've got going on. So I'm looking at the top row for standard, right? If you're paying 109 now for maintenance, and many of you who are on, work at a bigger firm who have more than 50 licenses, you're paying much less than that, right? So your grandfathered price is what you're paying. So if you got a discount or whatever else, that's what you're paying, and it just adds 10% per year. So if you did buy retail or smaller firm, let's say, the first year your subscription is going to be $119.90. The second year it's $131.89, and it just adds 10% per year. So, and it's going to keep going up until it reaches the retail price. And that's where that retail price catch up part in year 10, looking at extreme, where that $412 is more than retail, because retail is $400. So it ends up saving you money in the long run. It's just hard to think about, right? So if you did not have active maintenance, you do not have maintenance at all, sorry, these numbers do not apply to you.
Yep.
You got to pay retail. But yeah.
Alex, I don't hide my desktop icons because it makes me look human, and hopefully, some people resonate with my my background.
Yeah. So you no longer need that separate maintenance contract. It's all included now. So it does simplify things, makes life a little easier. But in the meantime, we just really want to highlight, you've only got a couple more weeks before you're forced into the subscription model. I said the F word. I said forced, because it's going to be the only option.
Yeah, for review 20, when it announced the end of life, with maintenance, if you don't buy any new licenses, let's just say, and you have active maintenance, there'll be a time where you have to go into subscription. I think that was that the right date? Let me look. I think it was that date of November, it looked like. Let me go back.
I don't remember hearing that, but anyway. So we'll get off this topic here in just a second, and we'll get back to the matter at hand. But just trying to make something easy for folks, easy to understand, because your time is of the essence, I should say.
Yeah, so they won't accept any renewals of your maintenance or open licensing that expire on November 1st. So being aware of that. Yeah. Okay, so let's get into review.
Into review.
And today we are talking about custom tool sets. What else were we going to add, Artley, that we were talking about?
We're just going to go over some of the basic markups. What's capable? What is the highlighter? Why use a highlighter, not a pen? What are some of the tricks you can do with the highlighter? What are some of the markups that we can do? Not talking about measurements. We'll try to stay out of there a little bit, but just talking about markups.
Did we want to compare the different versions too?
I think that kind of goes in line with our earlier discussion if we want to get to that part.
Okay, so let's go through and do some markups, and then we'll compare the newest tier versions because there's a lot of differences. I'll also be creating a helpful video at some point to send and post on the tube, detailing this for later as well, the different versions. Okay. Yep. Whenever they announce end of life, the day end of life happens for Review 20, you will not have access to Studio. It's part of the end of life program. Okay, so let's hop on in. If I go into my profiles here, Review Advanced, and for those folks that are wondering, I have Review 21 and Review 20 simultaneously installed. I still have access to my Review 20 license as well, so just be aware of that. I haven't updated it. Leave me alone. Being aware of going through and being able to have both side by side. Main key differences right now are the sign in, right? So I can close this out and whatever bug fixes they've done in the background. Those are the ones, just a keynote for what are the ability to go through. So basics of markup tools and what we can go through and do. You do have the highlight option, which is H for the hotkey. I switched my, again, profile to the Review Advanced profile. So if you want to follow along, you can go through and select that. Couple quick tips here. If you do have OCR, which is in all versions next year, that's a big question that always gets asked next year in Review 21. OCR, optical character recognition, does come with all three license tiers. What does that do if you have a raster versus vector PDF? Hey, Michael, what's a raster versus vector PDF? Well, let me show you. So you have two different types of PDFs that are printed out. One is raster right here, and the other is going to be my vector PDF. Oops, raster over here, vector over here. I'll synchronize the screens. So if you get a PDF that looks like the one on the right, typically you want to go through and run the optical character recognition if you want to search for text or anything like that. Vector PDFs is true and rich data, and that typically happens when you're printing out from your design environment as vector. It is selected, at least I know for Revit, you have to select raster. It does default to raster when you have shadows enabled. So hint, hint for those folks that are enabling shadows. But if you're not, then be aware you do have the ability, and it by default print out as vector PDF, and you can go through and you can select text over here. Over here, I cannot. So what am I going to do? You typically run the optical character recognition, which is now in all tiers. It used to just be an extreme. Okay, so coming back into here, we talked about the highlight tool. So if you do have a raster PDF, you can highlight text. This was a hot tip at one point. If you don't want to select the text, but you're near the text, you can always hold control and it overrides it back. So just being aware, a little tip there. If you didn't want to highlight the text, you can go through and do the same thing as well. End of life hasn't been announced for Review 20. When they announced the end of sale, it's a year from the end of sale. We saw Review 2019 get extended for a couple of months, I think it was.
Yeah, it did get extended, but my guess would be October of 2024.
Yeah, I think they extended 2019 because this was a new process and below for announcing end of life. I don't know if they'll do the same thing for 20. Okay.
Maybe they'll make us wrong, and that's fine.
Yeah, I'd rather be wrong in that scenario than right. So next one would be pen. You can go through and use a pen markup. So if you wanted to detail a pen like this, you can. Now there is a little bit of a tip here too. You can use orthogonal positioning with this just by holding shift. So being aware as you're going through and drawing, as you're holding shift, you can actually get orthogonal positioning for the pen feature, which is pretty nice. So if you ever want to do a straight line, because I'm pretty sure I'm just trying to drag it straight is not the best. But being aware, you do have those options. There are some things where folks have been asking questions of like, Mike, I just wish it would default to a color. You can, if that's your workflow. If you make a custom color and you want this to always be that color when you select the pen, just be aware if you do this, it's just the one color and it's not really the full power of what Revu offers. But you can, if I select that, you can set as default. And now whenever I use the H key, it will automatically go to that default color. However, that's what tool sets are for. So if you go through and you enable my tools here, you can actually save custom markup colors to be reused later on. So let's just say I wanted to put my pen up here for number 1. Now all I have to do is hit 1. It's just like hitting H, but I'm hitting 1. And it's the ability to have that option for my blue color versus overriding this one. Because then you can say, hey, Mike, you know what? I also want to go through and create a pen that is for green, right? Great. Now that's number 2. So now you have 1 and then you have 2. Perfect.
Now, those remember the old red line days of, pen on paper when we had different colors to mean different things. You can still do that, right? So if you're on a device with a tablet that supports a stylus, you can really get pretty close to mimicking that old feeling, right? I know a lot of people still like that tactile experience of redlining. There's a way around it. So there we go.
Yeah, and I mean, people like to create their details, right? Like, this isn't be terrible, but
Is that Thor's hammer?
I didn't even think about that. But like, here's my base plate.
Oh, you're doing something work related. Oh,
right? Like, here you go. Boom, 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 boom. Why not say to set something to default? I said you can. Not the real way how Revu works. To be more of not using your custom tool sets, the full true power of Revu. But by all means, set as default. Then your single color default is always set to that one if you're only using one color and not trying to get the full capabilities of what Revu offers.
I think my argument against setting things as default is that when you do upgrade to the next version, you're gonna have to redo it all. Whereas with my tools, saving it in there will keep that synced and allow you to export them and have them for later. So it just becomes a little easier.
Yeah. I've never seen the ability to set to default, but that doesn't mean that there probably is for ortho.
That would almost be better. I like that. Like if you could set ortho as default and then use your shift to make it default away from there.
Mm-hmm.
There, I use the default word. Go back to there.
Override. Yeah, I don't see anything in here. That would be a good. I mean, I guess you could probably, if it's built in, you could probably make a whatever thing for it. Has anyone ever created a macro in here to set that?
I don't know. Freehand. That's the term I was looking for, Ed. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like an AutoCAD day where you can set the ortho or not.
Yeah.
I wonder if anyone's ever thought about making a macro for that. But anyways, I guess, well, they would probably say, well, you just use a line. Well, same thing, right? Shift. So,
and that does do the 45. So Matt's saying, add other angles to the ortho feature, like a polar, using an AutoCAD term, would be pretty cool.
But you can't get it lower than that.
But if you did want to actually draw a line at an angle for 22.5 degrees, there is a way to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not exactly intuitive. I don't know.
Yeah. So there's a line. You also have the ability to customize your line styles, which is actually pretty cool capability. And it's a lot easier than AutoCAD and to create your line styles. And I think Jason would agree wholeheartedly with me on that. It's a lot easier to go through and create custom line types in here versus in AutoCAD. In Revit, you are limited to your line patterns. So good luck. But coming back into here, if you wanted to customize those, you can just go up to your drop down from Align and hit Manage, and you can customize these. These are saved out as BLX files if you wanted to share them. There's some built-in ones here as well. And then in this, I know there was somebody asking online, can you add arrows? You can add arrows. That's a little wonky with that one. But I think it was for dimensions, and we'll cover that.
Well, I think the question was, can we add custom arrowheads? And I don't think there's a way. If anybody chiming in or listening in has
The arrows are
experience
the
with creating
available arrows.
Yeah, that's what you get. There's no other ones that I've seen.
I haven't. Is this new? Is a square? I feel like I've seen the square before. Oh, it's because maybe it's because I'm in a line. Okay, moving forward. Next one is the ability to go through and use the dimension tool. So this is not actually getting a dimension. This is you saying what a dimension is. So what you're able to go through and do is say that this is 10 feet. And we'll do this too in segue because someone asked us, can we move a dimension text? This is the same type of thing you would do with an actual measurement feature. You can hover over the text. Don't hover over the node. Hover over the text, hold shift, left click on the text, and you can drag it. So for those folks wondering, how can I go through and change that? And then same thing for the arrows. You can go through and change them from the existing ones here.
Correct. So one thing to mention there, if you haven't played around with it, Shift, Control, and Alt are all keyboard functions that can alter different markups that you've already created, whether that means locking them into an ortho position or allowing you to drag the text away, something like that. Those are things to play with. If you can't get the results you're after, just try one of those 3 buttons, see what happens, right?
Yeah, like Alt is a good one for the ellipse. So before you place it, and this only happens from a toolbar, you hold Alt, left click on ellipse. Oh, wait. Yeah. And then it's from the center of it. The other one is the control. Oh, it was still in the command. That's weird. And then it goes from top right to bottom.
This is 100% a trick that we learned from you guys here on MCR. I remember that day. I don't remember who told us about it, but I remember.
I think it was
blowing my mind. I was going to say it was Alex. So just share the glory and take it. All right. Yes, Doug. You got to mention the offset word. I would love an offset. And whenever we want a command from Bluebeam, what do? We go up to help. We go make a suggestion.
Yep. Make a suggestion right here.
I would love an offset. Yeah. You can complain to us. That doesn't help. But if we, sort of flash mob or whatever into their make a suggestion saying, hey, we really use an offset tool. And then,
And then there's also the arc. The arc allows you to place it at 3 dedicated points. So typically if you just place it, it's not the best arc. But you can hold down Alt, click arc, and then you have 3 points.
Magic.
So arc, ellipse, a couple different hotkey tips before selecting them. And if you don't see it in the toolbar menu of a selection, whenever you see a toolbar menu like this, you can right click and you can go through and select it to show for shapes or customize your own toolbar to have different commands in them from here. So this would be like, I want all of the commands available in Revu. And you can add any of these into a toolbar. The toolbar that's selected shows the commands in it. the blue checks next to it show it available. Blue checks here mean that it's shown in this profile that I'm in. So hopefully that wasn't too deep in the woods. Okay. So you're able to customize those toolbars for easy selections. I would say one of the most famous tools, I guess there's two famous tools that are bread and butter for revision. So people that are doing revisions and submittals are just, redlining PDFs. Typical workflow would be Cloud, Arrow, Text. Typical, right? You can speed this up a little. No need for the arrow. You got the text, add leader, but there's no need for that either. You could, this would be my preferred way, comment, because we have markups lists, but we'll delete this. If you still want to keep things on the paper PDF, use the Cloud Plus because it comes with it. So that is K for the hotkey, revision, and then you have your call out that is with it.
Why you got a weird door? Yeah. So yeah, with that, you can either do the cloud or just the standard call out tool.
Yep.
But Michael, I like how you sort of foreshadowed about the markups list because we haven't talked about that yet. But if you want to make a cloud again and add that little comment like you were talking about, maybe that would be a nice little.
Yeah. So I think instead of making, this is a personal preference, instead of muddying up the PDF with a bunch of notation, you can start attaching comments to the metadata of your markups. That way there's an itemized list of things for folks to address. And that's down here below. You have the markups lists. And from the markups list, you can start seeing all of your information populate down below. And for highlights, by the way, it also goes through and highlights what's part of that text too. So like concession, it's highlighted it, put it as the comment, which is pretty cool. But coming back into here, you have cloud and then door question mark. So that's that comment that you can quickly address. And if you're like all the way over here and you're like, well, where is that? There's a cloud here, but there's a door in the comments. You click it, it will bring you to where it's at as well. So now I'm not mudding up my page with a bunch of comments associated to it, like writing a full paragraph out or using the typewriter to write a full paragraph out. It's all down here in the markups lists so that it lives with the data and you can address it from here. They have built-in statuses, so you can say it's complete or not complete. You can make color changing statuses, the whole 9 yards that make it a little bit easier for revisions as you're going through and redlining stuff like that.
Correct.
Are you watching the chat?
Yeah. So there's a couple questions here. A good one from Bob is like, while you're in there, what does that status column do? And then also, is there a way to show bookmarks rather than labels in the markups list? And I don't believe that there is.
It's just page labels. There is no built-in one that has the bookmarks. These are all out of the box, but I could be wrong because there's some more down here. Well, I guess they're all enabled on this profile.
But yeah, as Alex says, the markups list is fire. If you're not using the markups list, let me back up. If you're not using the markups list, you're really missing out on the biggest, powerful, most amazing thing that Bluebeam brings to the table when it comes to doing your markups, right? Because that markups list is going to keep everything aligned for you. You get a little Easter egg here and seeing the cost and the total cost that Michael has done with this one. There's so many powers that you can unlock in the markups list. And if you're not playing with it, you're missing out.
Yep.
I can't sugarcoat that any more than that. And we've done whole episodes on powers of the markups list and estimating and all the other cool things you can do with it. And if you really want to see what cool things you can do, well, you got to talk to the Power BI powers that be.
Yeah, and you can link things into Excel. You just need the complete tier. So the newest tier of Revu is complete, that you had to have the quantity link into Excel. It works well. It's just measurements. Folks that are really invested in the capabilities to do quantity takeoff, let's just say Doug, for instance, they leverage Power BI to wash the data, because you can only get measurements. You can't get everything with the metadata of the markups. So it's just up to you on how you want to leverage the data. If you just need the measurement information to plug into an existing Excel spreadsheet, because you're like me and you've created one, right? Like if I needed this value, if this was a measurement and I wanted to plug it in from a PDF, I can create it from a file and then have that data from the file populate in this field here. So there's options.
Magic tricks.
Yeah, but that's with the complete tier only. Another thing to note, because this is also a big curveball, be aware that they changed a lot of these things in here, Bluebeam pricing, in order to filter the markups lists. You actually have to have complete. That is big. So document markup and tracking to filter and sort and comments in the markups lists, you have to have complete.
Wah, 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 wah. I don't like this one.
Yes. So I don't know when they snuck this in, because I feel like I've never seen this before. But
I agree.
Yeah. Do you agree? I should have screenshotted this, because I feel like they snuck this in here. And anyone from Bluebeam in here, if you want to answer that, please let me know and prove me wrong. But I don't think this was part of it before. And I would love to be wrong. But filter and sort markups and comments in the markups list. So if you want to filter and sort your data by comments, so if I do this, so let's actually bring some good markups into this PDF.
Another bonus tip, kind of Easter egg here right now, is bringing in markups from another PDF.
So if I wanted to import all of these markups and I wanted to sort by them, I can only sort by these columns if I have complete. If I wanted to filter by these and say, I just want the architect's comments, I have to have complete. So be aware.
Yeah, I can't have any justification for why Bluebeam made this choice. That was such a huge thing. It's something that they cover during their demos. It's something that we cover in our demos because it's so powerful. And for that to get snuck into complete is...
I'm thinking they accidentally missed a checkbox here.
I don't know.
Because you can create custom statuses.
Yeah.
Maybe they just wanted it to look like this and then boom. I don't know.
I know you did an episode where we went through all these other features, like, I don't know, 9 months ago. I kind of want to go revisit that and see if this comment thing was in there, because I think we would have hit this. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, it says filter and sort markups and comments in the markups list.
Yeah.
So I would just assume you can't sort by a custom status anyways either. You're sorting the markups, which is the data here, regardless of the status of the data.
And maybe that's a hopeful thing, Alex, where it's just the marketing team's writing this and they didn't know any better. If anybody's here today from Bluebeam that wants to defend that or verify that, please speak up. We don't have core or basic to test that ourselves. Like was mentioned in the chat, don't see a whole lot of purpose to core. I think basic is great, complete is great, core, whatever.
Yeah. I did see this though. This was part of it. Create markup summary reports with customized filter and sort options. So that's that export feature. So if you wanted to export your data, you typically would be by whatever you're sorting and showing in the markups list by default, right? That's what gets printed out in your reports by default. If you want to do it anything outside of this, like set a company standard, you can only do this with complete. So when I hit this CSV or PDF, I can only edit these if I have complete. So don't worry, I'm going to create a video, show you everything in here, just like I just did, line item by line item to show you the differences so you can all be well informed. But let's just add some, another little tip in here. If you are on active maintenance with Revu 20, you actually get a cost neutral exchange into complete, regardless of what edition you were in prior. So be aware of that.
Ooh, thanks for that, Brent. Comparison chart from a year ago. The filter incomplete only was not included. So either they pulled a sneaky or who knows? Who knows?
Only the first year. So no, you when you decide to, if you had any of these 3 tiers, you go into complete until you decide to not be incomplete anymore.
Repeat that, please.
So regardless of what tier you were in prior, if you had active maintenance, you get put into complete.
Correct. You can't go from extreme to core.
No. After year 2, you get to decide if you no longer want to be incomplete. But as you can tell, there's no reason to switch maybe till year 7. No, what's it? 250? Year 5. Year 5. If you were in extreme 250, 256, you may want to switch to basic if you're not using the full features of complete, because then you're at that $6 more that year. Year 6, you may want to decide to transition out. Year 7 would be for CAD. You would be paying that year over year. You may want to switch to basic. Year 9, well, you're already in basic, so it doesn't matter.
Correct. So it's all the same installer. It's just when you log in, so you'll notice Michael's login in the upper right-hand corner. When you log in, that's going to determine what functions you have. So same as like the old perpetual licenses. It's all the same installer, but however you registered it would determine what tools were available. So sometimes there are things that are grayed out. But yeah.
Oh, you're fine. This is all about going through whatever rabbit holes we want to go through today. So yeah, filter option, just be aware. But talked about that metadata. What are some other helpful things? I like attaching images to things. I don't know about you, Artley. Gone are the days, unless you want to. I hope gone are the days of people dragging and dropping images onto the PDFs here. So we'll get some cool stuff here. I forget, did I download this stuff from the internet? And this person I Googled, so I'll give credit. And when you download it, it shows his face. I don't know, it's kind of awkward, but I'll open this one up. So gone are the days of, dragging and dropping on the PDFs. But if you want to, by all means, please do so. But what you can do is actually go through and select the markup, right click, and then attach the photo to these. Yeah, this one. And that way, when you click it, it brings open that photo as well.
So fantastic function for punch lists or exhibits or anything else that you want to make with this. Doesn't have to take up the real estate on the actual PDF file, but it's still embedded. So if you send this out, those are all going to be attached to it.
Exactly. And then if you want to create a report, I like to do this little hot tip here, Because when you create the report, it reduces the image size and the quality of the image. So I like to go to options here and include capture media with an addendum. And I like my hyperlinks. Hit OK. We'll append this to the back. Boom, boom. And then I guess I had too many markups, but we're done. We'll go and find that one with the image here. So this is where it was made. I can click this. It takes me back to where that ellipse is. Here's the image. This is the quality. Not the best. I can't even see that bobcat. But when I click it, it brings me to here, which is back page. It's that addendum. And then I can click this. It's a JavaScript window. And boom, now I have this full res photo of this bobcat on these saguaro cactuses. They're actually classified as a tree. It's funny because we talked about bananas today. Banana tree classified, but they're actually an herb. Saguaro cactuses, they're actually a tree.
Cacti. See, there
you go. I grew up in Arizona, so I'm gonna call it cactus. But yeah, I think it's called cacti is the proper name of it.
Yeah. All right. So that's a good question. How do I tell what license version of Bluebeam my company has? They're already in the portal. Portal's a different beast, right? See, our access to the portal isn't the same as what other people see. So we're always hesitant to show that because it will show.
Let me just bring up my blog. It has it.
There you go. It should tell you what kind you have available. But if you're in review already, you just go up to review up in the top left corner, and it will tell you. Well, actually, that will tell you what version you have. But if you go hover over your login top right corner, it will tell you what license you have.
Yeah, when you go to add someone with their licenses here, view and edit, you'll be able to see what tier they have, and you're just adding a tier to them from your option.
There it is right there. So core, complete, collaborator, basics will show a number subs available.
Yeah. Here's your link to the guide. Oh, I sent it to us. My B. Everybody. Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, so that's that adding in capture data. Hopefully gone are the days of was I adding all this to I was my Vectorpedia. Gone are the days, hopefully, of going through and adding capture to the PDFs. But by all means, if you want to, you can. Stamps. So if you want to go through and add stamps, we covered the custom creation of stamps, but you can add stamps here as well. So if you want to go through and add any stamps. Oh, by the way, I totally forgot about this one too. This color processing, but this is not what I wanted to talk about. I just remembered something. So we won't get a stamp that works because I want to show this to Control F legend, I think was one.
Oh, yeah.
So create and save legends to the tool chest is only a core feature. So be aware of that. If you are using legends and saving them to your tool sets, be aware that you can only do this with core. So be aware of that.
Yeah, very good stuff. Well, we got about 4 minutes left. If there's any questions about anything related to anything, fire away in the chat. I know we've got a couple that we're still going to address, but just give you that little notice there.
Yeah, tell me which one's the hit.
So wanted to show the markup cat tree again.
Yeah.
How did you get to do the pop-up? So that was the capture or the edit.
Yes.
Edit action.
So select the markup, right click, capture from camera or from file.
Right. So if you do from camera, it'll turn on your computer camera or your tablet camera. So So I think that's more of a tablet function, right? If you've got like a Windows Surface, Microsoft
Yeah.
Surface, you
I
can
mean, I
actually
could
go on
do
the
it.
job site. Dink.
Yeah. I could do it now, but it won't let me because Zoom has my camera.
Right.
Cat photo, boom, select it, done. Okay. Next one.
Pretty cool trick. And there are, go to the edit action too. Because you can have it linked to a Word document or a spreadsheet or a different file as well, or a different PDF.
Yep. What else?
There's a lot of words in the chat. Flip sheet command, yeah, that would be a good function. Well, we gotta cover that coming up here. More document management stuff with slip sheet and batch functionality. And then David mentioned that there is a custom tool building session this afternoon over at Chapter 2.
Ooh.
So if you want to go deeper into custom tool making,
Throw
Troy
up a
and the
link
gang,
for that.
Yeah. Let me see what I can find. Working on one computer here. One monitor is a little tricky.
Yeah, so if you want to join Troy de Groot, I think is how you say his last name, and the gang, a lot of folks from here are longtime listeners, but also part of Chapter 2, which is a forum page by Troy de Groot, good friend of ours who has a forum page in a company called Chapter 2.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the event, but I'll just put the link to the general website. There you go. Yeah, Troy's got a lot of good stuff on there. There's a bunch of free tool sets that you can download.
Ooh, yeah.
But he's gonna do a whole event today. So check it out. And we'll go from
I think
there.
it was like 100 tool sets. I may be remembering something incorrectly, but it was a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. That is true.
All righty. Well, we're at that time. Thank you all for listening in today. If you want to hear more about what we are going to be doing for the rest of the year, I've created a list. If there's something that is super important to you about learning for free here on MCR with Jason and myself, leave it in the review at the end. We look at that every single time I look at that. DJ CJ takes the time to send that to us and we do look at it. So please add something in there. We'll look on our sheet if it is on there. If not, we'll maybe remove something or add something because we want to give this to you all back for what you have done for listening to us. So again, anything you need to know, feel free to add that in there so we can add them into these typical MCR training topics. But for now, I'll let you close it out, Artley.
Yeah, that's just about it. This is all for you guys and building the community. So if there's a topic that you want us to cover or something that's super important, let us know. Otherwise, we're just sort of making stuff up and guessing what the community wants. That we have been doing this for over 2 years now, and we're just doing it, as a way to build the community. But we don't exist without your input and your participation. And we really see no reason to stop quite yet. So keep it coming, and we'll be here to help you.
Exactly.
Otherwise, everybody take care out there. We'll see you again next Tuesday, and take care.
Take care.